Beauty box is we track the skin tones, and so that's always how beauty boxes work. We build an automatic mask based on the skin tones, and then we can track, as long as your lighting doesn't change and the skin tones remain the same, we can track that throughout the video clip, and you can dial in whatever amount of smoothing you want. What becomes interesting, both in Final Cut and Premiere and some of the other things, is that you can use the masks that Final Cut offers to further restrict where the smoothing is happening. So if you just want to touch up somebody's forehead, or you just want to do the cheeks or something like that, you can further isolate what Beauty Box is doing. If you're doing professional beauty work, often this is how they do it, where they'll just apply some amount of smoothing here, some here, maybe a little bit on your nose or whatever, where it's just needed instead of applying it to the entire clip. Frequently, Beauty Box, people just, if you're doing corporate work or something like that, where you don't have a huge amount of money to do all this like fine tuning of the mask and all that stuff, most of the time people just apply Beauty Box, rely on our skin tone mask, and apply it, dial it in, and then just go. And that works great, but you can further refine it by using these masks, because the masks are going to track, as somebody moves around, the mask will track onto the forehead, and that'll isolate Beauty Box just on that area. We have some of the tutorials on the site, we'll show, like 6 or 8 masks just all over different areas of the face, dealing with, pimple here, or like, a highlight over here or something like that. But that requires a lot of work, because now you have to manage those trackable masks, and the masks will get off track. Then you got to stop the track, realign them, continue tracking. So it's a bit of work, but especially if you're doing, like, say, a 30-second spot, it can produce a better result. But if you have a 60-minute interview, probably not going to do that. The demo reel, we have like a swimsuit video that they use Beauty Box on, and you would not think that those women needed Beauty Box, but when you're shooting video at high resolutions, under video lights and stuff like that, there's just a lot of skin detail that pops out, and if you didn't have a makeup artist on set, you're going to see a lot more detail than you really want to see. And so Beauty Box just allows you to subtly dial that back. And really the way that we have always envisioned it is it's really just a layer of digital makeup. You're not trying to take someone who's 50 and make them look like they're 20. Right. You're really just trying to take the edge off of what high resolution video lights, just all the things that kind of make skin texture just pop out in ways that it just doesn't under normal lighting, right? We support all the major video editing apps, so Final Cut, Resolve, Premiere, After Effects, Avid. It's a different plugin for each one. Luckily the APIs for each host app are kind of similar, and we've been, this is, I think, our 21st NAB, something like that. Okay. So we've been doing this for a while, so now, we kind of have a system at this point where we can kind of write the plugin once and publish it to the different host apps. Right. And then you got to fine tune it a little bit for each host app, but we don't necessarily have to rewrite it. The LED lights have a refresh rate similar to a computer monitor. Okay. And you might even be getting it from the TV screen behind me, possibly, where the camera shutter speed is just out of sync with the refresh rate, and you start either getting rolling bands or you start actually getting like flickering. The rolling band stuff is probably the most common problem these days. Actual flickering will happen if you've got slow motion or poor fluorescent lighting, which will actually have some sort of flicker in it. But the LED thing, which is very similar to if you take a US camera and go over to Europe and start shooting, you get these rolling bands that happen. Set up for 60 hertz, then you're doing it at 30 frames a second or 24 frames or whatever, and that's going to match up with the hertz. But now if you're at 50 hertz, suddenly 24 and 30 don't work. What we do is analyze 15, 20 frames and figure out what the correct luminance is, for each of those frames. And so we analyze, take one frame, analyze 20 frames around it, figure it out for that, to go to the next frame, do the same thing, do the next frame, analyze 20 frames around that. We support a couple different AI engines in transcriptive. SpeechMax is one of them, and then we have transcriptive AI, and transcriptive AI, we kind of test a basket of different AI services and kind of use whichever one we think is best at a given time. So what we're using on the back end may change month to month.
Sure.
It may be the same for a while, but we're always trying to get the highest accuracy we can. And what that means is, like, all the AIs, if you have perfectly recorded audio, it's in the studio, there's no background noise, the talent's well spoken, all that's going to be 98, 99%. All the engines are going to do that. Where it gets tricky is once you have an interview like we have here with like background noise, other people talking, how does the AI, how do the AIs handle that? And at some point, the accuracy falls off a cliff where it's just because you're better off getting a human transcription. But the further out you can push that cliff, the better. So that's what we're testing for, and that's how we judge what AI we want to use.
Right.
Because they're all going to, if it's really good really well recorded audio, they're all going to be great. I mean, they're all fine. You're all going to get, very, very few errors. But if you can get, 90% accuracy on something like this, where you've got all these other things happening in the background, that's where it's cool. And because there's just a lot of, that's how real footage is. Especially if you're doing interviews that are not in the studio.
Right.
There's a lot of background noise. There's just other stuff going on.
Right.
And if the AI gets confused by that, it's not that useful.
Right. So do you have any secret plugins you're working on you can't talk about right now for the future?
We were kind of hoping to be a little bit further along with the new products we're working on, but we're not. So right now I'm not actually talking about any of the new stuff, but talk to me in about a month.
Okay.
And we should have some stuff to like.
Right. We'll have you back on the radio show, the TV show, absolutely. All right. Thank you, Jim.
Yeah, Richard, thank you, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Bye.